Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome to the Shareholders Day. And as you all know, today at 11:30 this morning, the shareholders meeting of Iberdrola will start. But before that, and on this spectacular stage that they've set up in the Palacio Euskalduna in Bilbao, we would like to invite you to watch this show, which is for you, for the shareholders, the true protagonists of today's session.
Zuek zaretelako gaurko eguneko bene-benetako protagonistak. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bilbao, welcome to Iberdrola's Shareholders Special Day. We hope to enjoy the next 2 hours here at Plaza Iberdrola.
So for the next 2 hours at this new format that we've called Magazine Plaza Iberdrola, our intention is to involve you in our society by talking about very diverse subjects like the corporate activities of Iberdrola, as well as its commitment towards innovation and sustainable energy, without forgetting about its very significant support to culture, because I think that we've started in the best possible manner by playing some music for the Shareholders Day through the sounds of the chalaparta and the bagpipes and the drums of the Scottish Pipe Band, which, by the way, is made up of workers of the reference company in the UK that forms part of Iberdrola. So let's start then with this journey into the territory of an Iberdrola that is deeply committed towards society.
More than 28,000 people from different countries and cultures, united by a firm set of values firmly rooted in ethics and transparency. Honesty, decency, dedication and responsibility towards helping those who most need it and to contributing to social welfare. Actions which stimulate the economic and social development of the countries in which we operate. Policies which foster equality and a good work-life balance.
Very motivated to learn.
It's wonderful to be with everybody, and they make your life much easier. I hope from Spain that I can continue to return to them part of what they have given me. We don't stand on the sidelines. We get involved with initiatives, with volunteers, working against social inequality and suffering in the poorest parts of the world.
And I can really appreciate by saying thank you for Bambini and thank you for Iberdrola. Thank you for them for letting our children smile. And as long as they can smile, then I'm happy. And my heart is at rest.
In 2014, we helped 500,000 people, those with disabilities, underprivileged groups, and those at risk of social exclusion. We are happy. We really enjoy working with these people. Well, I've been dancing. I really love dancing, and I'm really having a good time. So you've given your time, but they've given you as well a lot. It's a way of doing something outside work. And you know different people who have different types of disabilities, those without disabilities. You have the feeling that you're helping them, but that they're helping you as well. And this is a wonderful experience. We were being invited here. Iberdrola invited us here to do this here and work outside in the countryside. Here we're relating to different people, we're getting to know each other, and we're working as a team, which is really important. It's very, very important because we can get to know people, because even though we have a disability, we can do all sorts of things like normal people. Solidarity is our watchword, and our commitments can be seen every day in the social and insertion and in our environment. Iberdrola is a company that will help us to provide work for people with disabilities. I feel very motivated, I feel very happy. I feel that tomorrow I'm going to have a brighter future and I'm going to be able to live like a normal person. We make dreams come true for our sportsmen and women as well. We transform their ambitions into personal triumphs, histories of personal effort and social commitment. I said, hey, I'd love to go to the Olympics one day. I think we really should say a heartfelt thank you to the support that has been provided to us from Iberdrola right from the beginning. Thanks to Iberdrola, we're hopefully going to classify for the Olympics in Rio. We have a great Paralympic team, and we can compete at an international level. On behalf of Spain. This makes us very, very proud. And it's wonderful to get all this support from firms which are as important as Iberdrola. Iberdrola is one of the primary sponsors of the Olympic team. We look after our forests, we make sure we have clean air, we look after our oceans. We provide clean, safe energy to more than 100 million people. We believe firmly in education and culture, and we are preparing the new generations to live in a sustainable, supportive future all over the world.
Delivering now is our great thank you. That is so great.
Solidarity, dedication, effort, excitement and commitment. These are some of the values that Iberdrola is trying to put across in each one of its social actions, and we can see proof of the fact on this stage with the 5 guests who are sitting here with us. We have with us today one of the members of the Paralympic sailing team, 2 interns from the Iberdrola Foundation, and 2 company workers that know what it's like to become involved in corporate volunteer programs hosted by Iberdrola. So let's start off then. Ricardo Marcial and Daniel Méndez, both of them were involved in the program Electricity for All that was implemented towards the beginning of 2014 for the ultimate purpose of providing access to electricity in emerging countries. Both of them traveled in December to 3 refugee camps in Ethiopia for the purpose of checking out the facilities and suggesting improvements. So Daniel, Ricardo, good morning, and thank you very much. Daniel, we'll start with you. How did you discover the existence of this program, and why did you feel attracted by it? Well, in the Iberdrola intranet, we have the Corporate Volunteers platform, and I registered with that platform, and every week I receive news, and they include this program, Electricity for All. And Electricity for All is a program that is run by the Department of Innovation and Sustainability at Iberdrola, and they're currently providing support to emerging countries. They have electrification projects, and they also have cooperation and volunteer projects. So in this plan, they've also included a plan for Ethiopia, which is the one we went to. And talking about Ethiopia, Ricardo, what did you come across there? How can you describe your feelings when you went to these refugee camps? Well, Ethiopia is an emerging country. And we did go to the refugee camps. The conditions are harsh, they are very precarious conditions. And the idea that we had, and the Iberdrola idea, was to create some facilities there to see what we could do to improve the situation, and that's what we're working on right now. And what did the people there say? I suppose that you had the opportunity to speak to the people in the camps. Well, yes, based on the fact that it's a very difficult situation for them. In the 3 camps we went to, practically 100% of the refugees are from Eritrea. This is a country that is experiencing a very difficult situation, a very harsh dictatorship. So they were facing many difficulties, but even so, they are very kind, they always smile a lot, and they are fighting to survive and to maintain their families. But you've gone back, because I think that you were there some time ago in Brazil, yes, and I was lucky to be in the Sao Paulo Iberdrola 2.0 edition, together with another 20 volunteers with the Corte Foundation in charge of the volunteer actions, and things went very well. It was a very enriching experience in Brazil. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for describing your experience. And now I would like to ask you for a round of applause. Iberdrola is implementing initiatives that provide support to training and research in the field of energy and environmental issues. Since 2010, the company, through its foundation, has established its scholarship program focused specifically on the development of renewables and on the improvement of biodiversity, as well as on the efficiency of the energy system. And the ultimate purpose is to provide training for high-level young professionals who are capable to facilitate a change in the energy model. And this task is being done by our 2 next guests, Alberto Jerónimo and Bianca Vieira. Good morning to both of you. Alberto, thanks to the Iberdrola Foundation, you are currently studying in Edinburgh, and you're studying a master's degree on sustainable energy systems. And how's the experience? Well, the truth is that it's been a very gratifying experience at many levels. From the academic perspective, it has allowed me to be in close contact with people that have lots of years of experience in the electricity sector in terms of research and industrial affairs. All of the colleagues and all of the professors are very enthusiastic and they're very proactive, which produces a wonderful environment for learning. And in parallel, Scottish Power has taken us to 2 of their power stations where we've seen all of the practical applications of the theory and the program. And then you have to add to this another factor, and that the scholarship allows me to live in a wonderful place like Edinburgh that is focused on what I want, that is studying this master's course without having to be concerned about anything else. So it's like a dream transformed into reality. So yours is a very peculiar case, and I think that it's worthwhile describing it, because you started to work in the construction business and you discovered that anything connected to electricity was exciting for you, and you carried on receiving training until you eventually became an industrial engineer, and you're still working as an industrial engineer. Yes, I'm still receiving training. So I suppose that the fact that you received a scholarship like this from the Iberdrola Foundation is an important thing for you. And in a way, it also represents a qualitative and quantitative difference for you in terms of your training. Yes, it certainly does, just because of the fact that when you receive training like this, it's very helpful, and you don't have to be concerned about funding or any other things that distract you relative to your studies. And this means that without any distractions, you can obtain the best possible outcomes, which I think is magnificent, basically. And in Bianca's case, she's Brazilian, and she's studying, thanks to the Iberdrola Foundation in Madrid, she's studying a master's degree on energy and fuels for the future. So please explain what that's all about. Well, the Masters focused on renewables and the different options we have instead of using fossil fuels. And we all know that this is an inexhaustible source, so we have to learn how to use natural resources in a sustainable manner. And as an engineer, I think that we have to respect the environment more and we have to use these fuels correctly, because this is what we have and what we're going to hand down to future generations. But apart from studying this master's degree at the Autonomous University of Madrid, you're also carrying out some practical work at the Department of Innovation and the Environment in Iberdrola. How do you manage to cope with both things, and what is the experience like at the company? I feel very comfortable with all the practical work because I'm acquiring lots of experience. But apart from that, I'm very happy because this is not only an academic issue but also a practical affair, because now companies are moving towards a more sustainable economy, and in the case of Iberdrola, they're using more and more clean energy in their energy mix. So this is a business, and it's possible to achieve an economy low in carbon, and it's a very optimistic outlook. Two very well-trained young people, excellently trained young people, thanks to their scholarship in Iberdrola. They've spoken about their experience. An applause, please. Thank you. As you know, the Iberdrola Foundation is also working with Paralympic sportsmen, and they are the official sponsors since 2005. And here with us is Héctor Álvarez, who's a member of the Paralympic sailing team. Good morning, Héctor. Good morning, Egunon, in the Basque language. How important is it for a sportsman like you to have a sponsor like Iberdrola? Well, if you will allow me to, first I would like to thank you all very much for the support that has been given to the Spanish Paralympics Committee. And also, well, thanks to you, rather, we have scholarships for our sportsmen. We also have highly qualified coaches, we have physiotherapists, doctors and many other things too. And we also have the Iberdrola circuit, and this year we're going to have the International Iberdrola Trophy that will take place in September in Valencia, and we're going to have the 3 Paralympic classes there that had never been done before in Spain, and it's going to be wonderful. So you're studying, aren't you? You are a high-level sportsman, so what is your daily life like? How do you manage to organize things? Well, it's very complex because doing everything, sport and studying, is very tough, because we hold what we call weekly concentrations or weekly meetings, because in my case it's 3 of us on the boat and each one is from a different city, so it's very difficult to coordinate things, to study and also sail a boat. And for instance, those weeks that we do not train, I go to the gym in the morning and then I go to the classroom in the afternoon, and when we train, as long as the weather's okay, that takes quite some time, and all day from 10 in the morning till 7 in the evening training aboard the boat, so it's very difficult. Oh, and by the way, you're about to deal with a challenge that we could call historic, because you want to qualify for all 3 sailing modalities, adapted sailing modalities, to go to the Rio de Janeiro 2016 Olympic Games. Do you think that you'll make it? Yes, of course we'll make it. This year we have the World Championship in Australia, and all 3 Paralympic classes will be going, and that's the objective for this year. We want the 3 Paralympic sailing classes of Spain. Well, thanks to Iberdrola's help, we'll be able to go to these places, and let's only hope that we do achieve it, because it would be like a dream going to Rio 2016, which is the main objective of our Paralympic team, for all 3 modalities. That has never happened in the past. So please do not forget his face, because we're going to see this young man collecting more than 1 medal. Thank you very much, Héctor, for coming here today. Thanks to all 5 of you. And before we heard what the chalaparta and the bagpipe sounded like, but now we're going to change completely. And I would like to invite you now to listen to one of the most interesting bands of the national scene. With all of you, Marlango.
Buenos días. Walk out, I am feeling pretty, have fun, summer in the city, any rhyme, I can find a riddle, any season, I can find a reason for once, just enjoy the rhyme. All the eyes I can find inviting, all the boys I can find attractive. You look fine, there's nothing to worry. Take your time, baby, there's no hurry. For once, just enjoy the ride. For once, enjoy the ride. I'll pretend I don't know you're looking. I'll invent everything we'll never see. But baby, hush, so the city's sleeping. And baby, rush, this is time we're stealing. For once, just enjoy the ride. For once, enjoy the ride. Look down, my skirt is short, high heels gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna make you want me. I'm gonna laugh, gonna dance. I'm gonna enjoy the ride, the ride, the ride. Gracias. I'm walking to my room, nothing in my mind, only the trace of dreams I thought I've left behind. I see me moving from a day so long ago. I kissed your mouth with yesterday's lips. You won't have me, Lord, have you tried so hard? Surprised to find him waiting in my path. He likes to hide and pays me visits from the past. You'll never know from where he'll breathe down your neck, saying you won't have me. Lord, have you tried so hard? You won't have me. Lord, have you want me this bad? dream come to you. There isn't fast or slow, you'll never lose control. Yeah, he'll kiss your neck and whisper to your mouth, you won't have me. Not have you try so hard, you won't have me. Not have you want me this bad. There's not a piece of land that wakes him if he sleeps. No hill is high enough if he doesn't wanna play. He'll kiss your neck and whisper to your mouth, you won't have me. Not have you try so hard, you won't have me. Not have you want me this. Not have you want me this. Not have you want me this bad.
Gracias.
That was the wonderful sound produced by Marlango. We'll be listening to them again in a few minutes, but I would like to take this opportunity to greet all of those Iberdrola shareholders that have just joined us in these last few minutes. On this Shareholders Day, Iberdrola is celebrating its big day, and it does so differently, not only through this welcome that we're offering you here in this special program, but also through the many activities that have been prepared for you in the forum and debates. So the aim is to establish contact with all shareholders, and this is why Iberdrola has implemented this engagement policy, and the ultimate purpose is to defend the interests and the rights of the shareholders. So Iberdrola has been rated as the Spanish company with the best corporate practices, corporate governance practices. Before we spoke about the social return and engagement, but now let's focus on what Iberdrola is doing in the field of innovation.
Buscamos un nuevo modelo económico. La sociedad quiere otro camino que apunta.
We're looking for a new economic model. Society wants the keys to change, R and D and I.
En Iberdrola hace tiempo que emprendimos ese viaje.
At Iberdrola, we started this trip some time ago. We looked at the future and asked ourselves, how can we be more efficient, sustainable and better in a more global and competitive world? Today, our company is an example in innovation, recognized by the European Commission as the most innovative Spanish utility and the fifth most innovative in Europe. In 2014, we have increased our investment in R&D and I by 7%, amounting to 170 million euros. We focus our efforts on optimizing resources, improving our services, promoting new technologies and business models, and generating clean energy. This is an effort that covers all areas and businesses in the world. We support technology companies and entrepreneurs to ensure the sustainability of the energy model. What we're developing is a system to use wave energy. It's an oscillating system. The results obtained here are extrapolated to actual situations fairly accurately. As an entrepreneur, personally, when you're working on a project, you don't know if you're doing it properly or not, but Iberdrola comes along and tells you they're going to give give you an award, well, that really gets you going. We lead development and research in the new generation of renewable energy, projects to reduce the costs of offshore wind power and obtain greater knowledge on marine energy.
Cluster, an energy hub for this green energy revolution.
Hemos incorporado a los contadores inteligentes.
We have included the latest remote supervision and control breakthroughs in our smart meters, an optimized grid with greater supply quality that respects the environment. For the customers, it means that any transaction they want to carry out with Iberdrola will be much faster. We improve efficiency, safety and maintenance at our facilities through clean generation technologies. This project for Iberdrola is a major breakthrough in relation to blade design because it's going to offer a large number of high-quality images and it's going to reduce inspection time. With this device, we can check the wear and small erosions of less than 2 millimeters at a very early stage. We send our energy in all the areas where we carry out our activities and promote internationalization of the business fabric that surrounds us. And we're continuing to go towards a model that will be more efficient and sustainable. Only through the ambition of wanting to go further, breaking existing pre-established barriers, will we be able to continue to grow as we've done in the past. Why wait to see what the future brings when we can start to build it now?
Thank you for your continuous commitment towards the avant-garde, and thanks for the efforts at searching new opportunities that allow us to meet future energy requirements. Iberdrola has been recognized as the most innovative Spanish electrical utility and the fifth of its kind in Europe. And talking about innovation, I would like to introduce our two guests. Alberto Tobias is the person responsible for the Department of Systems, Software and Technology at the European Space Agency, and Marcia Barbosa is the director of the Institute of Physics at the University of the State of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, and she specializes in hydrodynamics. So thank you very much and good morning to both of you. Alberto, let's start off with you. It was only a few days ago when the 35th anniversary took place of the first launch of Ariane. And when we talk about these issues concerning space, we all think about very complex things that have no link, no connection with our daily life. But this is definitely not true, is it? No, it isn't true. And by the way, this launch of Ariane was a very good idea because this provides us with access to space and science and to the applications it provides. Yes, space is very far away, but it's closer than we think. Such a trivial thing like one of these mobile telephones is continuously using 30 satellites, and those satellites tell us where we are, and it provides trivial applications like going from one place to another or seeing things that surround you, but sometimes it's fundamental for time management purposes on Earth, and it also controls the financial transactions. And when you watch the weather forecast on television, on Canal Plus, for instance, they're using a communication satellite, and you can see the Meteosat picture. That's another satellite. You can see isobars and isotherms that come from models that feed off another 10 satellites. And when you see Google View, it's another satellite. So we use something like 50 satellites without even noticing that. And science, if you consider the case of the Nobel Prize winner Crutzen, Galán. He's a Dutch chemical engineer who, through satellite observations, discovered ozone photochemistry and saw what destroyed it, and this is how the Montreal Protocol came along. Certain substances were banned, others were approved. So, Nobel Prize science applied to trivial activities of every day that produce wealth. But apart from these daily applications, space systems are also used to take strategic decisions, like, for instance, something that is very important for Iberdrola, and that is the implementation of wind farms. Yes. In fact, the energy business is one of the best users of space data. For instance, if you want to build an offshore wind farm, you need to know about the dominant winds, and these are the historic registers of the weather forecast satellites, and you need to know about the predominant currents and the waves, and you need to resort to the historic data from satellites. And then when you're managing the grid, you need to take into account weather forecasts, and they use satellite data. And in fact, Iberdrola is currently improving the regional model, and you know how much there's going to be in the next few days. And you also know how much you need from renewables. So these space systems are used in the entire cycle, from prospection to environmental impact. A few days ago, at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, the ESA gave awards to several applications for mobile phones, whose aim is to improve farming practices. Isn't that the case? Yes, we're talking about accuracy farming, which is one of the most firmly established applications as regards space systems and their utilization. For instance, with the navigation systems, tractors drive themselves. The driver doesn't do anything, well, does something completely different. And the tractor is driven in such a manner that the amount of soil that it damages is minimal and leaves nothing behind. And there's another satellite that gives you data on the presence of water, fertilizers, and this is what the driver does. He knows how much water or how much hydrogen or nitrogen has to be added on instead of driving the tractor. And I have a curiosity. How do you prepare a space mission? I suppose that from the moment you decide to do that project until this is carried out, I suppose that is a project that has to be very lengthy and extremely complex. Yes, it's too lengthy in some instances. For example, the Rosetta mission. I worked on this mission back in 1984 when we prepared all the technology. But the issue is that these scientific missions of the agencies are proposed and evaluated by the scientists. And sometimes you have to propose it on several occasions until it's selected, and a decade can go by. And then when you have to look into whether this can be done or not, in other words, whether you can develop technologies, it's another 4 or 5 years until this is confirmed. And then depending on the degree of difficulty, it is another 5 or 7. But you have to think that Rosetta, in sending the information, it takes you 30 minutes. And if something goes wrong, you can't do anything. You can only replace software. So you have to do things very well from the very beginning. And then if you travel very far away, it's another 10 years to get there. So you have to choose very young engineers so that they are ready by the time it gets there. And then a communication satellite is built in 2 years, and that really depends. So you've mentioned the Rosetta project on several occasions. So what is the situation of this project right now? We have the Rosetta spacecraft that does most of the scientific work, and which is attached to the comet and travels around the sun. And we have the lander that's also aboard the comet. And what happened is that it was in the shade and the battery is somewhat discharged. And what we trust and hope is that as it gets closer and closer to the sun, we'll be able to collect some energy and charge the lander again. But in any case, science continues, and we've been working on this for 10 years, and things like the discovery of water and the comets, well, this is something we found, and nitrogen, so in other words, science continues. But let's talk about new projects to conclude. I understand that you're currently working on Betty Colombo, which is the first European mission to Mercury that's going to be launched next year in 2016. And how long is it going to take? 7 years? Well, let's only hope that it will start in 2016. Well, that's the optimistic forecast, isn't it? Yes, we're in the design phase. And we are now very close to Venus and Mars, and we've landed on one of the Saturn moons, and with this we go to Mercury, and Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, and we receive 7 times more solar radiation than on planet Earth. And in the case of Rosetta, it was 50 times less than on the Earth, and we had to hibernate, but here we have far too much ultraviolet radiation, and that's what we're doing. We're developing the technology that will allow us to get very close. Well, it's very exciting, and it's wonderful to listen to you explaining this in a very understandable fashion. Thank you very much indeed. Let's have an applause for Alberto Tobias. So, within its environmental commitment, most of the energy that is produced by Iberdrola is clean and renewable, and it comes from natural resources like water. Water is an element that seems to be very simple, but it hides many secrets, doesn't it, Marcia? What are those secrets that are hidden by water? Water is very mysterious because in its anomalies it hides the secrets of life and the secrets of planet Earth. Because what we scientists do is understand the water anomalies so that we can cure diseases, or so that we can find manners of producing more clean water on our planet. You mentioned water anomalies. Could you please elaborate what it is you mean? Water is a very straightforward molecule. It's an oxygen and 2 elements of hydrogen, but it does something that is absolutely spectacular, because the hydrogen attracts the electrons from the hydrogen and forms a bipole, and then it works as if it were a network, as if it were the internet of correlations. And these are hydrogen links, and these hydrogen links are responsible for 72% of the anomalies of water. And one of the most common anomalies in ice, the solid part floats on the liquid part. But when the temperature drops, the material becomes very, very dense, and that's why it goes down to the bottom. But water, because of the reaction of hydrogen, when you reduce the temperature, it becomes wider, and that's why it floats. And it's fundamental for life too, because just imagine if it were the other way around, we'd have ice at the bottom of the river. This would kill the fish, it would kill the plants, and everything would die in the cold season. So this is absolutely fundamental for life. Well, before finishing, and amongst the many prizes you've received, I would like to underscore the L'Oréal UNESCO prize to women researchers. Is it easy to be a researcher and woman at the same time? Well, the percentage of women in this field is only 15%. But we're happy because in the field of physics it's not even 5%. So there's a very low percentage of women in that field because of a very straightforward reason, and that is the difference between men and women. Please don't feel afraid. I don't mean to be inappropriate, but it's only one word. I'm going. When a man is called up, you have this opportunity, but you have to travel. You have to go to China, or you have to go to some other part of the world, and you have to work until 2 o'clock in the morning. And men only think about themselves, and they say, I'm going. But women have to think about their children, they have to think about the house, about their parents, and then after she thinks about that, she can say, I'm going. But can we change this? Well, I think that women should also be allowed to say, I'm going. And when that happens, we will be on an equal footing. And the truth is that you're here today, and that's true of the fact that it is already happening. So thank you very much, Marcia. Thank you for coming from Brazil. Let's have an applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. And with us in only a few minutes, we'll have with us on this stage, we'll have the president of the company, Mr. Ignacio Galán, who'll be talking about the future of the company. And we can see that he's now arriving. He's just outside. And by the way, he's arrived aboard a 100% electrical car. He's going to be talking about the future of the company. He's going to be talking about the internationalization process and about the role that Iberdrola plays as a key player in the global energy scenario and his commitment towards sustainability. But let's give him some time to reach the room, and what better way can there be of making use of this time if not by listening again to Marlango.
Ser la sed que no termina, lo que esconde cada esquina, el rubor de tu mejilla, la que espera en la otra orilla. Ser la dueña de esa sed, ser la espada y la pared, y ser todas las mujeres metidas en mi piel. Ser el eco de tus pasos, lo que buscan tus abrazos. Ser tu sombra a mediodía, llenar tu tarde vacía. Ser la brisa y el calor, ser la bruma y el rumor. Y ser todas las mujeres que has tenido y has amado metidas en mi piel. Ay, 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 si pudiera olvidarte. Ay, 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 si yo fuera otra. Ser el vino que te embriaga, la que enturbia tu mirada. Convertirme en tu guarida, ser el corte de tu herida, ser el juez y la condena y la cura de tu pena, y ser todas las mujeres que has tenido y has amado metidas en mi piel. Ay, 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 si pudiera olvidarte. Ay, 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 si yo fuera otra. Ay, 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 si yo fuera otra. Gracias. Caminando sin pensar, despacito, sin tiempo que ganar, paseando sin correr. Voy a soñar despierto, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela. Tiempo al tiempo, tiempo al tiempo, tengo tanto, voy a inventar los mapas y a viajar por el mantel. Voy a soñar despierto, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela. Tiempo al tiempo, tiempo al tiempo, tiempo al tiempo, pierdo tanto, vamos a ver el mundo desde aviones de papel. Voy a soñar despierto, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela. Si está seco bebo, si se desborda remo, quiero lo que tengo, lo que sueñas vuela, nadar en vasos de agua, volar en mil pedazos, saltar en cada charco, tiempo al tiempo, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela, lo que sueñas vuela. Gracias.
Un placer volver a escuchar a Mar
It's a pleasure listening to Marlango again, but let's continue with this Shareholders Day, and it's wonderful to be on stage with a great professional like Maria.
Buenos días.
Well, look who's talking. Good morning everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you on such an important day. Important for Iberdrola as well as for you, the 600,000 shareholders of this company. Well, throughout your splendid professional trajectory as a sports journalist, I know that you've been very close to many of the Iberdrola projects, some of them related to sport and others not that close to sport. But I love the Iberdrola commitment towards sport. I have to be very clear about that. I love that commitment, but in any case, we're here today to talk about the environmental commitment, and we're here to talk about how Iberdrola has always put its stakes on providing and supplying electricity or energy in a clean and responsible manner and in a coherent fashion with absolute honesty towards their customers. And this is what Edurne and I are going to be talking about now with the chairman, with Mr. Ignacio Galán, whom we already saw on the giant screen. And somebody told me that the president arrived aboard a 100% electrical car, which shows his level of commitment and the level of commitment of the company in terms of nature and clean energy and renewables. And this is what we're going to be talking about here. Well, look, there he is. We can see him there. He's speaking to some of you, and I'm going to ask him to step up onto the stage. But let's first view the video that talks about this commitment towards nature, this Iberdrola commitment.
Water, wind, two powerful and fundamental elements in nature. And making the most of their force has been a major challenge for mankind. Transforming energy. Water and wind turned into essential energy for life and for humankind's progress. Electricity. We are firmly committed to renewable, clean energy. Energy that comes from natural and resources that will not run out. A strategy against climate change. A strategy which respects the environment and respects biodiversity. We research in order to eliminate the impact of our activities, our facilities and our services through projects which promote eco-efficiency. So we get the CO2 away so that it is not polluting for the environment. We innovate with cutting-edge projects that reduce atmospheric emissions and improve the efficiency of how we use our resources. We are supporting and promoting new generations of clean energy, like marine energy. We are working towards developing sustainable development policies.
That's why Iberdrola is backing transport electrification, and for 5 years we've been working on Iberdrola Green Mobility. They are 100% electrical, and they issue no CO2 particles to the atmosphere, no acoustic pollution.
We support young people, helping them train and fostering knowledge in order to attain a sustainable energy model.
I would particularly like to thank the Iberdrola Foundation for their support to young people. We have to learn how to use natural resources.
I would like to say thank you to Iberdrola for giving me the opportunity to
developing what I'm passionate about, which is obviously environment and technology. Renewable energy is a great privilege. So.
We raise awareness in order to tell society and our employees about the importance of looking after the environment. We are able to explain to them how we produce electricity using renewable sources. It was really useful to be able to see what you do going around the office. Really interesting, very gratifying. We protect biological diversity as well as fostering industrial growth, with programs designed to improve our knowledge and to help conserve species in a danger of extinction. We have a direct, we have saved in collaboration with Iberdrola different species.
We learn where they spend the winter, which paths they fly, and we know much more about migration movements.
This is Iberdrola's commitment to nature, commitment and responsibility to make sure that every day we become more efficient and more sustainable as we carry out our daily activities, with a single aim: to guarantee the right of present and future generations to enjoy a clean planet.
Here is the president of Iberdrola, Ignacio Sánchez Galán. Let's have a strong round of applause, please. Take a seat over here, please, Ignacio. Well, what an event. Isn't it beautiful? Well, this is what our shareholders deserve. So if this were a TV program, you'd have a very high level of viewership. It's beautiful, everything is green, it's ecological, and it's true to the Iberdrola philosophy. What I love about this, Ignacio, is this change of, it's the general shareholders meeting, but apart from that, it is the shareholders' day. Yes, it's the shareholders' party. It's a special day where there's even a nursery for the children of the shareholders. And this is something that somebody suggested to me last year. Somebody told me last year, well, he would love to come along with his grandchildren, but there was nowhere to leave them. But don't worry, I said, we will open a nursery, and I hope that he's here. I haven't seen them yet. But anyway, Ignacio, let's talk about why it is you're doing this. Why this change? I'd even dare say that it's highly innovative. Well, this year, one of the issues that we are focused on is on involving our shareholders. We hold systematic meetings with our institutional shareholders, and we tell them what we think, what we don't think. We listen to their views and to their opinions. But we also want to involve private shareholders, because it's more than 600,000 private shareholders all over the world, and here we have many of them. And we wanted to hold a day when we could share things with them, listen to their views, and explain to them what we explain to others. And above all, we want to hold this celebration, because it's been a very good year, and the profitability of the company had a total return of nearly 30%, much more than all of the IBEX and Eurostock indexes, and I think that it's a moment of celebration, and what we're trying to do is celebrate that the company is going well and that things are being done very well. So congratulations to all of you too, because your company is going very well. But just one other thing, Ignacio. It is true that power is an issue that is discussed by everybody in international forums. There are more and more debates on energy issues, but what sort of future does energy have, Ignacio? Well, we have to think that in the world there are still 1.3 billion people that do not have access to electricity. Well, this clearly shows that the sector has a very brilliant future. And it's a sector that depends on the countries, of course, but recently we drafted a document at the Davos Economic Forum, the Energy Committee. I'm the chairperson, and it's entitled The Future of Electricity. And the conclusions are that we need to make very large investments over the next 25 years in order to be able to build the grids that the world needs. And for that, we need to have attractive frameworks, and we need to have the least possible amount of interventionism, and the company should be allowed to do this because we have the technology and the necessary resources. And it's clear, as long as there are 1.3 billion people that do not have electricity, we have a very long way to go. Yes, but we've also seen these last few days and these last few weeks that progress is being made in terms of the energy union of the European Union. We've seen how France and Spain were connecting to each other a few days ago. So steps are being taken, but the question we are all asking ourselves, and especially the shareholders, is the price of electricity going to drop for consumers? Are we going to pay less as consumers? We've been working on this for the last 3 years. It's called the Maghreb Group, with the three largest European utilities. They're one of the group that has been there for more than 30 years, and where we have the three most important industries of Europe. And we've been talking about all the heads of state of the different European countries. We've been talking to the people on the European Commission too, in order to emphasize something that has to do with the loss of competitiveness that is taking place in Europe as a consequence of the high energy prices. There was not enough awareness, because if we compare ourselves with the United States, we are more expensive. And it's not because we have more expensive principles, but rather we're more expensive because in Europe, although this varies in one country and another, we've used the electricity bill as a sack for everything, and we pay for social, environmental, territorial policies and taxes and levies, which is more than 50% of the bill. So even though we have the most efficient grids and the cheapest grids, the cost of production has been reduced substantially in these last years. But it so happens the rates and taxes and levies and subsidies, that has grown significantly. And when you have 60% of your bill on that, you either reduce that or, well, in the end it's impossible if you don't change that. Well, the world of energy is obviously a tremendously competitive field. But I would like to know, President, what is it that makes Iberdrola be different compared to others? What makes you better? Well, in this global world, one has to anticipate things much more, because if you are in the lead, if somebody's in the lead, whoever comes behind you, the second or the third person, never obtains the same results. And Iberdrola took a decision quite a few years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, and followed a very specific path, the path of renewables. Nobody believed in renewables, and now everybody wants to become engaged with renewables. But we focus much more on regulated businesses. All of our international expansion has been focused on regulated business in Scotland, in the United States, in Mexico and Brazil. And then we put our stakes on something that I think is very important, and that is to have a very good corporate governance and ethics in business. For instance, we have a policy on gender equality, and this is an example that comes from the top, because we have a board of directors, and we're the company that has the largest number of women on the board. And all of them are the chairpersons of the committees. And this will obviously reach the lower levels. And today, we have to make money, but we have to do something for society. That is our social responsibility. And this is something we're going to be discussing during the shareholders meeting, how much tax we pay and how we share our social and cultural successes with many people, and how we have lots of volunteers working for the company who are abandoning their free time, their leisure time, and travel to countries so that they can take electricity to people there, or so that they can educate people that are having problems. And this is done also with people with disabilities. I was with a number of people of this kind outside. And you can do all sorts of things. You can make money, and you can be socially responsible, and you can look after your staff properly. And that is what we want to do, and that is what our model is all about. So we're going to be talking about then, about the workforce and about the shareholders, because it's your day, it is your celebration. And to finish, President, could you please leave a couple of messages? So when they go home, please give them a take-home message, something that they can take home. 2 messages from the president of Iberdrola. Well, firstly, upon entering, I bumped into the band of bagpipes, and I asked them to come along with me. They didn't want to. And there was a shareholder there who said that he was a shareholder since 1951. So what can I say? Well, thank you. Thank you for your trust for decades. That is, people, families and institutions have given us their fuller support when things were not that good and when things were better, moments when there were difficulties and moments that are successful like the one now. And please rest assured that we can do as much as we can to defend your interests, because this company belongs to you, and we're not going to let anybody do anything to this company without you giving your permission. And that is our commitment. We want to do things as best as we possibly can for them, so that they can obtain the best possible outcomes. And I would like to thank you for giving us your fuller support for so many years. Well, that's all then. Thank you very much, President, and I trust that you have a wonderful day, and the same applies to the audience too. Thank you for coming, and I'm sure that you want to go and talk to them now. So thank you very much, President. Thank you. And congratulations for those splendid results. Good. Well, the party continues now, because something is coming along now who also crosses borders, just like Iberdrola. He's just arrived from Argentina, from his tour in Argentina, and is now going to start touring Spain. The super singer with all of you here this morning, Leiva. Goodbye.
Buenos días a todos. Las luces se hacen grandes, el viento del presente nos da, y lo malo crece a cada instante. Deja que sea. Nada es tranquilizante. El miedo nos descubre y se va. Así son los días del cantante. Deja que sea. No hay más. Si todo lo que viene se va a golpe de volante, tengo que volver a mi planeta, colgado de la luna en soledad. El viento nos sacude de verdad aquí arriba. Tengo que grabarlo en mi cabeza, subir al escenario principal. Es todo lo que quise conquistar en la vida. Los ídolos del parque, los dandis y poetas de bar, a los que vendrán y a los de antes. Deja que sea. Los versos que nos parten, los lazos que nos van a marcar, que no mueran nunca los cantantes. Deja que sea. No hay más. Si todo lo que viene se va a golpe de volante, tengo que volver a mi planeta, colgado de la luna en soledad. El viento nos sacude de verdad aquí arriba. Tengo que grabarlo en mi cabeza, subir al escenario principal. Es todo lo que quise conquistar en la vida. El viento nos sacude de verdad aquí arriba. Gracias. Hasta que no me quede carne ni piel, como quisiera tenerte, besarte entre la frente, amarte en parte, porque eres todo arte, como si fuéramos unos animales, en cualquier parte con un plástico nos vale, y estamos solos y no hay nada que nos pare, nada que nos separe. ¿cómo lo quieres hacer? Cógeme, no tengas miedo, no te voy a morder. Como quisiera roerte y luego socorrerte, atarte, mojarte y luego chulearte. Como si fuéramos unos animales, en cualquier parte con un plástico nos vale. Que estamos solos y no hay nada que nos pare, nada que nos separe. Hey, ¿cómo vas? ¿Cómo lo ves? Hey, ¿cómo vas? ¿Cómo lo ves? Como si fuéramos unos animales, en cualquier parte con un plástico nos vale. Estamos solos y no hay nada que nos pare, nada que nos separe. Como si fuéramos unos animales, en cualquier parte con un plástico nos vale. Que estamos solos y no hay nada que nos pare, nada que nos separe, 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 nada que nos separe.
Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, seguimos. Os dejamos aquí con vuestras cosas. Muchas gracias por invitarnos. Un día tuve una charla muy agradable en un avión con un tipo muy agradable y resultaba que este tipo muy agradable trabajaba en Iberdrola y resulta que por ese viaje estoy hoy aquí. Así que nunca dejéis de ser agradables con las personas, que siempre os vendrá de vuelta. Nos marchamos y os dejamos. Esto se llama Lady Madrid.
Más bonita que ninguna, ponía la peña de pie, con más noches que la luna. Estaba todo bien. Pruebas de fortuna en 1996, de Málaga hasta La Coruña, durmiendo en la estación de tren, la estrella de los tejados, lo más rock and roll de por aquí. Los gatos andábamos colgados, Lady Madrid. Más viciosa que ninguna, pero tan difícil de coger. Tuvo un piso en las alturas, ándele with care. Pruebas de fortuna con héroes de barrio y conmigo también. Algunos todavía dudan si vas a volver. La estrella de los tejados, lo más rock and roll de por aquí. Los gatos andábamos colgados, Lady Madrid. ajustados, era de Burning, Ronaldo y Lurri, y nunca hablaron los diarios de Lady Madrid. La estrella de los tejados, lo más rock and roll de por aquí. Los gatos andábamos colgados, Lady Madrid. Pitillos ajustados, era de Burning, Ronaldo y Lurri, y nunca hablaron los diarios de Lady Madrid. Lady Madrid, Lady Madrid.
Buen día a todos, gracias.
Gracias. Gracias.
Thank you, Leiva.
Muchísima suerte
And
en la gira que está
the best
a
of
punto de
luck in this
comenzar. Y lo
tour
que
that is
también
about
está
to
a punto
start.
de comenzar es la
And
Junta
what is about
General
to start
de
here
accionistas.
too
Todavía
is
falta un
the
poquito, no se pongan
general shareholders meeting. There's still a while to
Nosotros
go.
sí que encaramos el tramo
But we
final
are
de
now
este
addressing
programa que les
the
lleva
final
acompañando
stretch
desde
of this
las 9 de
program
la
that
mañana.
started at 9
Y lo
o'clock in the
vamos a hacer
morning, and we're going to
fijándonos
do
en
so
el
by
compromiso de
focusing
Iberdrola
on
con la
Iberdrola's
cultura.
commitment in terms of
¿Y
culture.
quién mejor para
And who
hablar de
better
cultura que uno de
to
los
talk about culture than one
culturales de
of
referencia
the
de este
most
país y mi
relevant
favorito,
cultural
Carlos del Amor.
journalists of this
Buenos
country?
días.
He's my favorite, Carlos del Amor.
¿Qué tal, Edurne?
Good morning.
Muy buenos días a todos.
Hello, Edurne.
La verdad,
Good
venía
morning
yo
to everybody.
pensando
And
que
the truth
decir
is that I
Iberdrola
was
es decir
wondering what to
pasión
say
por la
about
cultura.
here. I was
Y
thinking
digo,
about a passion for
mientras
culture.
hoy cuento muchas
So,
cosas
what
de
should
lo
I
que hace
do? Should
Iberdrola
I
por la
talk
cultura?
about the many things that Iberdrola does for
Siendo
culture?
de
No.
televisión, lo
As
mejor
I'm
es
from television,
ponerle
the best thing
imagen
is
a lo que
to
hace
show a picture
Iberdrola y su
to
pasión por
prove
la
what
cultura
Iberdrola
que
does
hemos
and
hecho
to demonstrate their
vídeo.
passion for culture. So we've shot this video.
Lo que fuimos.
What we once
Lo que
were
somos.
and what we are
Una
nowadays.
identidad forjada a lo largo de
An
siglos.
identity that has been forged throughout the
Nuestro
centuries.
patrimonio histórico y
Our
cultural.
historic and cultural heritage.
Testigo mudo del paso de diferentes
We are the
civilizaciones y
witness,
de la
we have been
riqueza
witness to
basada en
different
la mezcla de
civilizations
culturas.
and a wealth that is based on the mixture of cultures.
Estamos en unas cuevas que se han
We are
conservado
working at these caves,
y es la historia de la vida.
and this represents the history of our lives. We must protect, we must preserve and disseminate this legacy of an incalculable historic value. It's one of the main missions of Iberdrola.
It's a wonderful treasure, and the whole library is full of this treasure. And here we've been looking at them because of their important historical and linguistic
Obras y
content.
monumentos centenarios, símbolos del mundo del
Very
arte.
ancient
Proyectos de
monuments,
restauración realizados
symbols of the
desde
world
el
of art,
respeto,
and
con la
restoration
colaboración de
projects
expertos,
based on respect with the
buscando
help
sumar
of
ayuda
experts.
a la
And what we
dinamización
want to
social
do
de los
is
territorios donde
inject
estamos.
dynamism into these territories.
The Iberdrola Foundation has been very intelligent and has protected the heritage of Castilla y León and Portugal and other places as well. I always invite tourists to come in and see the chapel. Yes, but the word of mouth, saying that there's this wonderful chapel, this wonderful church, people come.
And lots of people come here. It's very easy to come nowadays because before it was impossible to be in the church.
When I go and see it, I always say, isn't it lovely?
Yes, Iberdrola has shown its commitment towards this particular church and with everybody's heritage so that it can be preserved and so that we can also cast a light where everything is dark. So, recovering beauty, we give our support to these restoration workshops. Artists whose hands overcome the passage of time, and the Iberdrola has provided the restoration services, and I think that it's wonderful to recover this beauty, and for us, it makes us feel very happy.
What we did is we used a technique which is known as the restoration stitch. It's a classic stitch.
We are giving opportunities to young people with scholarships at some of the most important museums of the world, like the Museo del Prado.
Working here is wonderful. To see how professionals at the museum work is wonderful because it enables you to learn and to develop professional techniques. It's wonderful to be able to work as part of a team and to really learn how to be professional in your approach to work.
A light for our heritage, an artistic and efficient lighting to underscore the splendor of more than 100 buildings with a great historic and artistic value. So this is how we've lighted up the tower, but apart from that we've also underscored the most characteristic elements that are the windows in the tower with internal lighting. Socializing culture, we guarantee the right to enjoy it. We believe in corporate collecting, which makes known the artistic heritage of our company, with exhibitions, with dynamic exhibitions that are open to everybody. The visit to the museum, well, not only to this exhibition, is going to be free of charge. The month that this exhibition will be open to the public. We have to create. We are supporting culture initiatives with new artists. Well, this is all built with lots of rationale, but with a very creative spirit.
Visitors are invited to come and journey with the artist through his artistic history.
Works that contain very novel forms of artistic expression in the future of culture. Our most highly appreciated asset. So these are some of the projects that are being sponsored by Iberdrola, but I would like to analyze some of them in greater depth, and this is why I have two very important guests, Javier González de Durana, who's the curator of two exhibitions that are sponsored by Iberdrola that can be seen in our country, and we also have Miguel Zuaza, who's the director of the Prado Museum. Good morning, and thank you very much for coming. And let's start with you. Yes, many thanks for this invitation, and many thanks to the Iberdrola shareholders too for giving their support to culture, and especially the conservation of the historic and cultural heritage of our country. And what I was saying before is that the contribution that is made by Iberdrola in terms of the Prado is one of the best things that can be done for a museum, because this allows us to preserve both materially and intellectually the collections that we've been handed down. It's the restoration program of the museum that is under the sponsorship and under the support of the Iberdrola Foundation. And I say that we can make mistakes with many things at the museum, but we don't make any mistakes with how we restore the works of art. And this very delicate operation that has to do with the restoration work, the fact that it has Iberdrola support is a very important thing. But Iberdrola has a scholarship program too for the restoration workshop, and the students or anybody that wants to learn, I don't think that they won't find a better place in our country if it's not the restoration workshop at the Prado Museum. So what will they see there? Well, without a doubt, the museum has one of the most important restoration workshops of the world that specializes in painting, in sculpture, and we have the frame workshop and the restoration of the wooden panels used. And I think that this side of the program, the scholarships from Iberdrola, and the fact that we are training new professionals is a very important thing, because they arrive in the Prado Museum, they're very young people with their academic training, and what they see during the months with us is that they're receiving practical training at one of the most important restoration workshops of the world. And I'd recommend that if you ever go to Madrid, I think that one of the places you have to go to is the Prado Museum, so that you can see the Roy van der Veer exhibition, where you get to see one of the pictures there that has been in the restoration workshop for 3 or 4 years, and the work they've done is absolutely spectacular. Yes, it's one of the most recent works that was presented last Monday in the context of the first exhibition held on Van der Weyden in Spain. And I think that this shows the restoration work and the complexity of that kind of work. It's been nearly 4 years of collaboration between Patrimonio Nacional and the Prado, that is the technical experts from both museums, and with the support of the Iberdrola Foundation. And we've not only recovered an important work of art, it's one of the masterpieces of perhaps one of the most influential artists of that time in the north of Europe, and it will go back to El Escorial after being restored in the Prado workshop. And it is one of the 3 originals that we have by this wonderful painter. And there's another program that is supported by Iberdrola that is called Lighting the Prado. And I remember how a couple of years ago Miguel invited me to see how they replaced the light bulbs in the gallery where the Del Bosco work is. And you get to change 2,800 light bulbs. In other words, LEDs are going to be installed now. So what do these works of art look like with this new kind of lighting? Well, this is another program that is attached to the restoration program, so the aim is the same thing. In other words, restoration tries to give a new visibility to the works of art by cleaning them and by restoring them. And this major project that we initiated in these last few months, Lighting the Prado, will allow us to replace what is an obsolete technology, halogen lamps, and we're going to install LED lamps. And this has required a very significant study that we've carried out together with the Iberdrola Foundation and the Prado Museum. And this new technology is now being applied to the works of art owned by the museum. And it's going to produce much greater energy efficiency and also a much better conservation. And this technology will allow us not to permanently apply ultraviolet ray radiation or infrared radiation, and this is going to give us a completely new kind of visibility in relation to these masterpieces, because it's lighting that penetrates much more than the traditional system, and it's a project that we're going to be developing over the next few years, and it's going to be very important. In other words, we're going to be seeing the Prado in a completely different light after changing this lighting technology. Javier, isn't lighting a very important thing? The way you light up a work of art, and as a curator, you know about that, of course. Yes, lighting. Lighting is one of the most significant and delicate stages in the preparation of an exhibition, because you have to place the spotlights at the right distance, and they have to be set at the right intensity and with the right orientation relative to the work of art, so that the work of art can be displayed to the viewer under the best possible conditions. And it's also a phase that is very tricky, it's very delicate, because if there's too much light or too much heat, this could damage the works of art, so you have to work out the distance correctly, and you have to do so discreetly too, because the viewer must be amazed by the work of art, but should not at all be amazed or surprised by the spotlights or by any bright spots on the canvas. I would recommend that you go to the Iberdrola skyscraper, because yesterday I saw a wonderful exhibition called Figurados, Figuraciones, Figurantes, Estar o Tal vez Soñar. So what are we going to find at this exhibition up on the 25th floor of the nearby Iberdrola skyscraper? Well, there's a reflection on the human figure. Human beings have always needed to recognize themselves and draw their neighbors in order to know what one looks like or what somebody else looks like. And at this exhibition, it's like a voyage on how contemporary art has always looked at the figure of somebody else, of thy neighbor. So we've used a selection of funds from the 5 museums of contemporary and modern art that exist in the Basque Autonomous Community: the Fine Arts Museum in Bilbao, the Guggenheim, the San Telmo, the Guetaria, the Artium Museum in Álava. And there's an overlapping in such different collections that has to do with the human figure, or the human figure, or the absence of the human figure. Yes, it also could be the dream related to the human figure. And in Madrid, there's another exhibition for you to see. It's a lovely walk all the way down to the Palacio de Cibeles to see La Piel Translúcida. Yes, La Piel Translúcida is an exhibition that was presented last year on the 25th floor of the Iberdrola skyscraper, which now is on display in Madrid. And it offers a selection of works from the collection that is owned by Iberdrola, and which can be seen at its different headquarters. And we've selected 55 pieces to show the quality and the strength and the coherence of this corporate collection, which, well, you can see some of the pieces on screen. And it's a collection that received an award at the Arco Contemporary Art Exhibition, and which is growing and growing. Yes, well, it's a collection never becomes fossilized, it never becomes static, because if that were to happen, it would then die. But in the case of contemporary art, this is absurd, because art is constantly being produced. Artists are constantly producing things in a very active manner, in such a manner that, yes, a collection, because of its nature, is like a living organism that develops. Yes, but I wanted to refer to one of the most recent incorporations to the Iberdrola collection that I personally like a lot, because I also believe that it's very poetic and it's also very metaphorical, and which I think would allow us to reflect upon this. And I'm talking about the dervish. Yes, this is the piece you can see behind us right now, and it was done by the North American video artist Jennifer Steenkamp, and the title of the dervish refers to those Turkish dancers who dance rotating. They dance around a room. And in this case, you can see that it's a tree that rotates on its own trunk, and you can see the 4 seasons of the year: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So it's a work that reflects upon the changing nature, but also refers to the circular progression of time. And in Bilbao, the tree wouldn't know in which season it's living. But anyway, thank you both, Javier and Miguel. Thank you very much for coming here today to explain this passion you feel for culture at Iberdrola. You know that there are several events at the Iberdrola skyscraper. There's also another exhibition, Van der Weyden, at the Prado Museum and at Centro. So you're going to be leaving this building with your diary full of cultural proposals. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much to both of you. Yes, it has been wonderful to listen to you, and we're going to take notice of those recommendations. So let's have a round of applause, please. Let's have a round of applause for all 3 guests. It's been a luxury. Listening to you has been Great. And there's only just over half an hour until the shareholders meeting starts, and we are going to close this program. It has been a great pleasure for me to be here with you to enjoy the Shareholders Day.
Gozamen handia egun berezi honetan zuekin izatea. It's been a pleasure, a real pleasure, to share this special day with you, all the whole Iberdrola family. Pero no quiero marcharme sin
But I wouldn't want to finish without introducing our last guest. And, well, we started with music and we're going to finish with music too. And this time, it's the Ochote Bilbao Argia.
Eta egun on guztioi.
Nuestra grandeza le tienes acá, le tienes cantado un inglés, Bilbao.